It's Wrestling Observer Radio. I'm Garrett Gonzales alongside Dave Meltzer. Subbing one more night this weekend for Brian, who won his match against Marco Stunt.
Yeah, I saw his chest. His chest got brutalized.
But then,
I heard so did Marco Stunt.
Yeah, he. I think he tweeted, "If you thought I was bad, you should have seen the other guy."
So they're going to do a match over WrestleMania, tag match.
Yeah, so it looks like April 5th, which would be a Friday, which means you should probably be in attendance.
Which means I should probably. Well, what other choices do I have?
I don't know, but there's probably a lot.
There's probably like 3 shows going on then. Or yeah, I'm sure there's 3 shows easily.
So did you hear anything about the match other than that Brian won?
I just saw people said it was a really good match. So, but I haven't seen it. We were watching UFC, then we watched a little bit of the Jericho thing, but not much.
I think he said it would be up on VOD at sometime later this week.
Okay.
I'll
add that to my giant list of things that I need to watch.
Yeah. And so it looks like Brian and Tom versus Marco and a partner. And I don't know. Who would you put him? Who would you put them against?
Oh, God, that's a tough one. Who's out there? Jeff Cobb.
Well, if he
could. No, he won't be available.
Yeah,
then.
that's what I'm saying. If he could, he would be perfect.
Yeah, he won't be available though. That's a good question. Shinya Aoki going to be in around that week in the United States?
No clue.
He's been wrestling lately. He wrestled for DDT last week, I think it was. Where did his name come up? Shinya Aoki. We were talking about him tonight.
Oh, Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. Right. Oh, jeez.
So obviously tonight was the UFC show. Daniel Cormier beat Derek Lewis. I think pretty much how most people figured he would beat him.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't a big surprise. He was in. I don't know. I didn't like the idea of the fight, but when all was said and done, nobody got hurt seriously, so that's good. And he took him down over and over and over again, and second round choked him out. So it's like Cormier's like pretty much up there for Fighter of the Year. 3 finishes over Ozdemir, and then Stipe, first round finish. This was a second round finish. Ozdemir was first round, right? He killed Ozdemir. Maybe it was second. I don't remember exactly. I just remember he completely dominated the fight, just like this one. So it's a pretty big year. So
after the fight, he called out Brock Lesnar, who was not there.
So Brock went to Minneapolis. So, and he brought up the date of March 2nd, where they're going to have a big show at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. So that was the night that he's talking about. Brock is in an interesting situation because, he's WWE champion, Universal champion. And I would logic would tell you he's going to lose either at the Rumble or at WrestleMania. And of the two, WrestleMania makes the most sense. Unless Roman Reigns is going to be back soon, in which case then you would probably want to do it quicker. But if you're going to coronate somebody to be a big star, obviously every year it's going to be at WrestleMania, and then week before Mania, Vince changes his mind and figures it's not going to work. But the one thing with Strowman is that he's not going to sit there a week out of WrestleMania and go, oh God, if we have him win, the fans are going to turn on the show, which was always the fear of why he kept changing his mind, in the other years. So WrestleMania would be April, March 2nd. It's a risk because what if he gets a concussion? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, it's unlikely. Brock's never had a concussion in an MMA fight, but there's always a first time.
So Brock, as WWE Universal Champion, there's no limitations on him at all as far as UFC is concerned?
His contract with WWE was the new one, because he just signed another one in the last, I guess it would be like the last week, because the whole deal, so the deal was when Roman went down, Vince backed up the Brinks truck and felt with Roman gone, they needed Brock. Brock's last date was going to be Crown Jewel. Roman Reigns was going to win that match. So just in case people have been asking me that all week, Roman Reigns was going to win that match. That was the plan. But Roman Reigns is out. As soon as Roman Reigns was out, the plan was, I figured they'd go with Strowman to win, and they didn't. They went with Brock because I figured that Brock was going to go right into camp, but Vince gave him a sweetheart deal, which you always know there's that chance. But and he does not have a deal with UFC, and his price with UFC, probably increases every time his price with WWE increases. But it's not an exclusive deal that he signed with WWE. He can do UFC. I mean, in this deal, he can do UFC anytime he wants. So if he wants to do March 2nd, he's got the right to do March 2nd. If he wants to do Feb 2nd or whatever, was it? It's January 26th, February, I got the dates. January 26th, February 9th, and March 2nd are the first three pay-per-view dates. The January 26th is in Anaheim at the Pond. That's a head-to-head because Bellator is running January 26th at the Forum. With Fedor and Ryan Bader. So it's going to be a big head-to-head night, like the old days of WrestleMania and the Clash of the Champions. Then the February 9th show is to be determined location, which means that, it could be anywhere. They're leaving that one open. And then the March is going to be the T-Mobile. So T-Mobile is where you would probably want it, unless February 9th they're talking about, stadium show or something like that. That's why it's or just leaving it up in the air in case they have the right attraction and can do a stadium show.
If Vince, knowing that Brock has the freedom to fight whenever, if he feels like, let's say Brock does take a date right before WrestleMania, wouldn't Vince have the impetus to change the belt before WrestleMania, just because for the reasons we talked about last night?
Yeah. So he could change it at Royal Rumble. Yeah, and that may. There's different ways of looking at it. I mean, like the traditional pro wrestling way of looking at it is you don't want your champion going to another organization and losing. It's been like that since the beginning of time, but it's a very different world now. People know pro wrestling's will work, and people understand that. Let's look at it this way. In that mentality, okay, you would never want, ever want Conor McGregor to go into boxing and lose to your world champion, go into boxing and lose to a boxer because you know what I mean? But the audience is now completely, because they were talking about that on the UFC. Oh, it's bad and everything. It's like that. The audience today, they know. They know what pro wrestling is. They know what boxing is. They know what MMA is. And, Floyd Mayweather toyed with Conor McGregor in boxing, and Conor's next UFC fight only did 2.4 million buys. So that's our evidence of 2018. Mm-hmm. It's like if Cormier beats Brock, I'm not so sure that Brock being involved in that giant event and losing isn't actually beneficial. Your champion's in a much higher profile event than any of your events. Isn't that that same thing that happened with Conor? I mean, Conor became a bigger star because of being linked with much bigger star.
Yep.
Because of being linked with Floyd. Now, Brock Lesnar's not going to become a much bigger star doing a fight with Daniel Cormier, but he's going to be in a high-profile sporting event before as champion of WWE. I'm not so sure that's not and people will talk about WWE if he's champion and go, yeah, it's UFC champion against WWE champion. I'm not sure for WWE, even if he loses, it's a bad thing. And obviously, if he wins, it's a fantastic thing. But I don't know that Vince will look at it that way. Because, I'm looking at it of the lessons that I learned from Conor McGregor. That may be right over Vince's head. Right. He may not have a clue, and, the people around him may not have a clue, even though some of them are probably listening to this, and maybe one of them will. But, who knows?
So Cormier, after the fight, he did call out Lesnar. He said, "When you come, bring that brand new WWE title too. I feel like being a WWE champion too. Bring that belt with you if you come to my house." So he likes adding the WWE stuff in there.
Oh yeah. Of course, he's a big fan and everything like that. And plus, him talking about WWE is good because, and for WWE, here's the other thing. They want him as an announcer when they go on Fox. So it's almost like, okay, so Brock loses to Cormier. Cormier's retiring anyway, so it's not like, you know what I mean. And then Cormier is again, they don't have it. Then, as far as I know, there's no deal with WWE, but they want him, and Fox wants him. So okay, so the guy who beats Lesnar is going to come in as your announcer. So that's not the worst thing either.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like, in another era we would go, oh my God, Vince is risking so much. I mean, even 2 years ago I'd have said the same thing.
And then,
but I'm not.
If they wanted to, they could also do it in WWE ring.
They could do it. They could do it as a WrestleMania match or something like that. Because Cormier I think would be open to do like one match. Learn, because he's a big fan. I mean, what a lot of people don't know is that in 2004, before MMA was big, Cormier, his goal was wrestle in 2004 Olympics and go into pro wrestling at that point. But because I think he took fourth in the Olympics. Well, he did take fourth in the Olympics. So his mentality was, I didn't medal. So he stayed till 2008. And then by the time 2008 comes along, and he ends up not, he was on the Olympic team, and his kidney shut down while he was cutting weight. So he didn't compete in the 2008 Olympics. So when that's over, by then MMA is big. So he went into MMA, but, because the world had changed and everything like that. So, by the way, you haven't seen the woman Aaron Pico thing, have you? Go on my Twitter at some point. There's a girl from Russia. You got to see her. She's 10 years old, and it's just like, oh my God, she's like, I'm trying to remember who. You don't remember when Cheryl Miller was like in middle school, but I do. When she was in middle school and we already knew she was going to be like the best woman basketball player ever. Yeah.
She scored like 100 points in a high school game or something.
Well, in high school, a lot of people knew, but even in middle school, we knew about Cheryl Miller. But in high school, she dunked in high school, didn't she?
I don't know.
She did. I remember all that. Yeah.
So this is like a 10-year-old fighting prodigy?
10-year-old Russian girl, yeah, whose hands are freaking incredible. You got to see her. And she's like freaking Khabib, because she's not like fighting women. She's like knocking down trees. She's punching trees, like holes in trees, and trees are falling down. She's got hand speed like when I was watching, I was going like Aaron Pico when he was 10. Mm-hmm. It's like unbelievable. She's gonna kill people when she becomes an MMA fighter. So anyway, I don't know what brought that up, but other than you need to watch that video.
Yeah, I know. I'll take a look. So Cormier at the he did a couple of different interviews. I saw him on the FS show. I saw him at the press conference after the show, and he basically said the same story of he wants Lesnar. If he can't get Lesnar, he wants Jones at 205.
But if Jones loses,
then he doesn't want to fight at 205, and he wants to stay at heavyweight and give Stipe a rematch.
Yeah. He doesn't ever want to fight Alexander Gustafsson again.
but yesterday...
No, I mean, it's funny because he's told me on more than one occasion that, even though he lost twice to John Jones, that the toughest fight he ever had was Alexander Gustafsson. That fight was, it was a fantastic fight. It was really hard. But, it's not, I mean, I think that it's look, he's looking at a complete business. It's like, I fought Alexander Gustafsson and it did 250,000 buys.
Yep.
And it's like, that one I don't want to do again, because it's, there's.
What'd the Stipe fight do in buys?
Wasn't it like, I'm thinking like the 375 maybe? Something like that. He made a remark about that tonight. I think it was 375. And, the Jones fights did like 900, so. And the Lesnar fight, everyone thinks will beat 1 million. Mm-hmm. So.
But, John Jones says a lot of stuff. But yesterday he did say that he didn't really want to fight Cormier again.
Yeah, but John's trying to get in people's heads.
Yeah.
I mean, who? If you're John Jones, and you beat Gustafsson, who do you want to fight? I mean, it's like Israel Adesanya. That's not even the same. That's not even the right weight class. I mean, who's there to fight? That you know what I mean? It's only Cormier. He's the only one he can do big business with, unless he goes up to heavyweight. And John doesn't really want to go up to heavyweight.
Not even for Lesnar.
For Lesnar, he would. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, actually, okay, if it came down to John Jones fighting Brock Lesnar or Cormier, I'm sure he picks Lesnar. And he should. And it's the same with Cormier. If Cormier comes down to John Jones or Lesnar, Cormier's picking, he's picking Lesnar too. Number one with Lesnar, he doesn't have to diet to get down from 251 to 205.
Yeah, he was talking about that as a reason to not really want to fight at light heavyweight anymore because he basically said, every time he's got to cut down, he cuts down from what he weighed tonight.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Like 46 pounds or something? Or I guess he said today he was 247.
It's gradual. It's gradual. I mean, like, I used to see him around, I think he was like closer to 235 when he was light heavyweight, maybe 238. And then like before the fight, he'd be 225, about a week or two out. He
said last year, day after Thanksgiving,
he was 260.
260.
He was 260. Well, yeah, day after Thanksgiving. But he fought in mid-January.
Yeah.
So that's 7 weeks? That's and he made it, and he beat Ozdemir pretty easily.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The other thing that he talked about at the press conference was he made a mention about TV opportunities in which he would actually make more money than he did in his fighting career.
And he said he couldn't say what they were. I have no idea what he's talking about, but he made it clear he was not talking about announcing for WWE.
Right.
So I don't know if it's Fox loves him. So I mean, but how much does an NFL broadcaster make?
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
What's interesting is
or does he? Okay, if you star in a television show, but he said he didn't want to be an actor.
Yeah.
He made that clear too.
Yep.
So it couldn't be acting. So, and he said broadcasting.
If you think about it,
what's the highest paid? It had to be NFL.
Sure, probably. But if you think about if Fox wants some synergy with WWE and the NFL, he could be that guy to kind of, go back and forth between both programs. He's got the personality.
He's got the personality, and he knows football. People don't know it, but he was an outstanding high school football player. He didn't play college because he loved wrestling more than football. But he was an outstanding. I mean, I'm not saying he could have played in the NFL. I have no idea, but he could have played Division I college for sure. He got Division I offers, but he went into wrestling.
Someone made a remark about being the future UFC president.
Wasn't that me?
Well, I think you brought it up, but at the press conference, someone asked him about it too.
It was Mark, so yeah,
okay.
Mark, my friend, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, like, he could do that. I mean, and the thing with him is where he would be good at it is, unlike the guy now, who, and look, Dana's fantastic at his job in certain ways. You can never deny his job and, growing the sport and everything like that. But Dana's so full of it. And Cormier, I mean, it would be better because, like, with Cormier, I think that he would be less full of it and everybody would like him because, the media loves Cormier. I mean, I know I'm a media guy and I know dealing with Cormier he's easy, but all the guys like him. So, yeah, I mean, it would be good because if you're a media guy, you would want him there because you can just text him and except after a fight.
Yeah, he made that.
He was complaining. He was complaining about all the. You can't get back to everyone when you have hundreds and hundreds of texts.
Yep. So that was most of the Cormier stuff. The fight of the night was actually the semi-main event. Jacare and Chris Weidman.
So real quick. Cormier kept taking down Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
And he beat him in, 2 minutes and 14 seconds of the second round. He got his back and choked him out. It was a one-sided fight. Lewis did hit him in the second round with a pretty hard punch. It probably wouldn't have been great for Cormier if he couldn't out-wrestle him, but he out-wrestled him easily. I mean, Lewis, you really saw how weak Lewis's wrestling game was because Cormier was, it wasn't even like, Khabib with McGregor where he was just so persistent and everything and he was getting, I mean, this was just like, every time Cormier touched him and grabbed him, he had him down immediately, and then every time Lewis got up, Cormier just got him right back down. So it was
Randy Couture, James Toney.
Yeah,
there was one move that.
Yeah, there was one move which was similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jacare, Chris Weidman got the fight of the night bonus. Great fight. It was almost all on the feet. Weidman won the first round.
I thought Souza won the second round.
I did too, but Dana said that he thought Weidman won all 3 rounds.
Dana said he thought Weidman was winning all 3 rounds. I didn't think Weidman was winning the third round either. I thought the third round was pretty close, and Souza was starting to take over. I think the key was that Souza did a lot of body punches, and by the third round, to my surprise, Weidman seemed like he was tired. He was fading more than Souza, because I thought Souza was the one that would tire quicker. But I thought it was a great fight, especially round 2 was awesome.
The knockout was a little scary.
Yeah, I think Souza. They were going back and forth, and I mean it was the middle of the second round, and I mean it was anyone's round. It was going back and forth, and Souza just got him with a punch to the forehead, and yeah, he went down. Head hit the back of the head, hit the cage on the fall. Dan Miragliotta, Souza just backed right off. It's like, I don't want to touch him.
He looked at him and was like,
okay, it's over. And then Miragliotta didn't want to call it. Weidman was doing this like weak attempt at a takedown, but it was like, where that
it was instinctual.
It was the remote control thing. It wasn't like he was really doing it. And Souza hit him with a couple punches, and you could see he didn't really hit him hard. And because he could have hurt him. And then Miragliotta stopped it. But it's a big win for Souza, because now really, I think that puts so for Souza, it's I think there's 2 choices. There's either you go with the idea that he's the next contender for the winner of Robert Whittaker and Kelvin Gastelum, which will be in February. On February 9th. Okay, so there we go. So the February 9th show, so there's no way they're going to do Lesnar and Cormier on February 9th, because that's going to be in Australia. So that's the to be determined is a location in Australia. Mm-hmm. So January 26th, Honda Center. I would think that's it's a possibility to go January 26th, but I do think that March 2nd is the likely date. So the decision for Vince is, do you get the title onto Strowman at the Rumble so he's not champion when he goes in that fight, or do you just go, hey, we want our champion there, and then you go with WrestleMania? So that's going to be Vince's call, which one he wants. But it'll be, I don't think that they're doing so. Lesnar is going to wrestle AJ.
Yep.
Which would be on November 18th in LA at Survivor Series. So Survivor Series is going to be. We'll get into Survivor Series later.
Yeah, we'll go over the matches that have been announced.
Yeah.
So you were about to say Souza could be.
Yeah. So the 2 choices for Souza would be either you face the winner of that fight, or you face Luke Rockhold, with the winner getting the title shot. If I'm him, I sit and wait. But UFC may want to make the match with Rockhold. But Rockhold's problem is, I guess the Rockhold problem is that his shin keeps opening up, and then once it opens up, it's a disaster because it can get easily infected. So, that's something that could plague him in his career, because, he has to kick, and it's just a bad situation for him. So anyway, that was that.
And then Jared Cannonier and David Branch. Cannonier was ripped at 185. Looked like a different human being to me.
Yeah, he sure did.
He also got one of the performance bonuses for a second round knockout. Branch got really tired really early. Well, not early, but I'd say midway in that first round. You started to see him get a little tired. And then by the second round, he didn't really seem to have anything.
Yeah. Cannonier hits hard, But yeah, Branch was taking him down at will early, and then it was a great win for Cannonier. I mean, he used to fight at heavyweight. Now he's at 185, and I mean that win, because Branch was one of the bigger contenders. I mean, that's a win that I don't know about Jacare, but I could see Cannonier and Adesanya next. Although Dana White said he had an idea for Adesanya and wouldn't say who it was.
He also said this show was booked with the first ESPN show in mind, right? Mm-hmm. And so that led people to believe, okay, so the guys on this show who were fighting, possibly the winners or whatever would be.
Some of the winners might be on that ESPN. So the first ESPN show is going to be January 19th at the Barclays Center. So this one, which is it's going to be to get over ESPN Plus, because what the deal is they're going to do the prelims. They're going to do 4 fights. It might end up being 3 because someone can drop off like always happens. But the plan is to do 4 fights on ESPN Plus, then 4 fights on ESPN and ESPN Deportes, and then 6 fights back on ESPN Plus. So the big fights are on ESPN Plus, not on ESPN for the first show. Now there will be another show on February 2nd from Brazil, and that one, I believe, let me see if they even say what the plan is for Brazil. I don't know. But there'll be a February 17th show, which will be a Sunday show from Phoenix, and they're going to have like 5 hours on a Sunday, and that will all be on ESPN. So it's going to be some show. So they're going to vary a lot. The prelims for the pay-per-views are going to be on ESPN. The fight nights are going to be a lot of them are going to be on like have some, which I think for ESPN Plus, I think that's a pretty clever way of marketing it. Is you get you get 2 hours on ESPN for the prelims, then you tell people they got to get to see the real fights. You got to go on ESPN Plus, and was ESPN Plus like $4.99, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a smart way of doing it.
Yeah. The only thing about doing the fights on ESPN Plus, then going to ESPN, then going back, I think a lot of people will skip the ESPN Plus, those first fights, because it's just manipulating the app and then going back to your cable and then going back to, to your computer or however you watch ESPN Plus. Not the easiest sort of thing, not like you can just push a button and go to the next thing.
Yeah.
So. And then the second match on the main card was Carl Roberson beating.
Okay, so real quick. So second round, Cannonier dropped him with the right, landed punches on the ground. Branch got tired. Yeah. Okay.
It was a Branch went for a takedown or maybe faked a takedown, landed a punch, and then right as he landed the punch, Cannonier hit him with a right hand and he went down.
Yeah. Impressive performance by Cannonier.
And so then Carl Roberson, unanimous decision over Jack Marshman.
Yeah, completely dominant performance by Roberson.
Marshman was game, but
yeah,
a little bit different level of athlete talent-wise.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. The different level of talent. And then Adesanya, so Israel Adesanya, who's one of the guys that you need to watch. He's now 15-0. He beat Derek Brunson. He finished him in the first round, and Derek Brunson is no joke. So basically, we talked about this before. So this was the fight that was to determine exactly where Adesanya stands. And the thing that was very impressive is Brunson is a good wrestler, and he stopped everything Brunson tried. And the thing on Adesanya was how good can he stop these takedowns? And he did. So, as far as striking goes, he might be the best striker. He might be the best striker in that division. I don't know if he's going to beat Whitaker or but I think, Adesanya and Cannonier I think might be the way to go. But Dana seemed to have an idea for Adesanya, which may have been Anderson Silva even. Which as a promoter, if you're going to do like the January 19th, the idea of Anderson Silva on ESPN Plus and you put him against a young Anderson Silva, so you create the new Anderson Silva in Adesanya because I got to think he beats Anderson Silva at this stage of the game. I mean, you're a promoter. That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean he has one-shot power. Like he wobbled Brunson several times, but it wasn't like he was hitting him with combinations. It was just like boom, one shot and Brunson would wobble.
Yeah,
and then he'd catch him again and he'd wobble again, and it was really impressive. And Adesanya got the other performance bonus.
Yeah.
So what about the prelims?
Okay, you know what? Okay, so I only saw 3 of them, and Lyman Good and Ben Saunders. Lyman Good won 1 minute and 32 seconds. This was all action. Good, Saunders is throwing his knees from the clinch like he always does, and Good is throwing uppercuts, and Good's got really strong power, and he finished him. The second was a absolute bloodbath. If it wasn't for the fact that the Weidman fight was so great, this would have probably gotten fight of the night. It was a Shaman Moraes won a split decision over Julio Arce. I had Moraes winning first 2 rounds, but yeah, Arce got a cut on the side of his head that I don't know if he hit a vein or what, but it was like pouring blood. I mean, it was like watching a slasher movie blood. I mean, if you watch see the canvas, how the canvas was all bloody. That's from this fight. There was blood all over the place. And I mean, it was but I mean, Arce, it didn't stop him. Like I kept thinking he's losing so much blood, he's going to get woozy, and he never did. And he was in the whole fight, and he actually won the 3rd round, I thought. So, but this was a great fight. And then the next one that I saw was Sijari Eubanks and Roxanne Modafferi. And Roxanne is basically a stand-up fight, and Eubanks. You just look at the two and the athletic difference between Eubanks and Modafferi. You just look at them. Like one looked like a freaking stud athlete, and the other looked like not a stud athlete. I mean, everyone knows Roxanne Modafferi is a very nice, hardworking, skillful fighter, but she just doesn't have the athletic gifts. I mean, when you watch her, like she doesn't move like an athlete at all. She's game, and all that, but one moved like an athlete and one moved so rudimentary. It was like just not like an athlete. And Eubanks, even though Eubanks got tired, and Modafferi, in the 3rd round, Modafferi did very well because Eubanks got tired. But the athletic ability difference was huge. Eubanks, of course, was in line for a championship fight, but she missed weight again. I don't think you can give her a championship fight after missing weight, twice. And the time before her kidney shut down, so she didn't even make the fight. And then the second time she misses weight by, she gets to 127, I guess 0.2 or something like that. She missed by, a little over a pound. So she needs to either, and then so here's the thing. In the thing, when people were kind of booing her because she missed weight, and she just goes like, you go try and cut 20 pounds. It's like, it's like, if you have to cut 20 pounds, maybe. The thing is like, cutting 10's not enough because everyone's cutting 15, and then 20's kind of hard. And I think that she kind of hinted that she might have been, she didn't say it, but I think that she kind of hinted she was on her period because she said that it was coming along good, and then it's, a woman thing, on the last, and it came on the last day. So that was kind of like the way she was sort of framing it, I guess.
So
there was one more fight.
Oh,
but I don't have it.
I don't have it either.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't go back to watch. It had been the main event of the prelims, essentially.
Let's see if I can find it quickly.
You should be able to find it pretty quickly.
Is it Knight and Rinaldi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jason Knight
Got it.
and Jordan Rinaldi. Yeah, and then I heard
So he won a unanimous decision.
Jason Knight?
Rinaldi beat him by unanimous decision.
So wow, Knight had looked good, but then the last couple times I've seen Knight, I saw a Knight fight.
One judge 30-25.
Wow. Well, I'll go watch that later. Now Borges, is it Shane Borges? Shane Borges. This would be in the prelims. I heard that he had a really good finish.
Armbar.
Yeah, whatever it was, I heard that was one thing I heard was good.
All right, so the attendance was 17,011, and the gate was 2.8.
Yeah, that's not a big gate for the Garden. I mean, it's a good gate if it was anywhere else, but for the Garden, it's not that great. But so 17,000 essentially tells you that they did sell a whole hell of a lot of tickets once Cormier and Lewis, and the word got out that they were really fighting, because that advance was not good at all.
Askren was there.
Ben Askren was there. Ben Askren's great at he's great at using social media. I saw some of his interviews that he was doing. He's not a really exciting fighter. He's a fantastic wrestler. But he's like, it's funny because, he probably should have been in UFC years and years ago, given his credentials. I mean, he's like a complete wrestler, but and grappler. I mean, he's got his, he knows his submissions and everything like that. But yeah, he was out there, and they, Dana White said they haven't even talked with GSP. He was cutting down Colby Covington, Darren Till. I think he brought up Robbie Lawler and was it Kamaru Usman? Kamaru Usman, someone had brought up Kamaru Usman to me about fighting Ben Askren, and it was like, God, he has needed. Kamaru Usman is a guy that I would not have Ben Askren against, because Kamaru Usman, I mean, he ain't the wrestler that Askren is, but he's a good enough wrestler, and he's a fierce striker. He's a great fighter, and he doesn't have a big name. And those are the guys that you avoid, are the guys that are great fighters that don't have a big name, because then what good are you doing? Mm-hmm. I think Askren Wonder Boy was another one that he talked about. He said he had nothing against Wonder Boy, he had nothing against Robbie Lawler, but he'll fight him. And the one he was pushing the most, he was making fun of, was Darren Till. Did you see that stuff where he was going like, when Darren Till heard that I was coming to the division, he goes, "I'm a middleweight," and he goes like, he was back in Liverpool eating all of his fish and chips so he could gain weight, so he could avoid, move up a weight class to avoid me, type of a thing. That was kind of like the line he was doing. But
is Dana trying to say that he's been an Askren fan, or he hasn't had issues? Because I remember him saying lots of bad things about Askren in the past.
Yeah. He always talked about how boring he was and things like that.
And then he blocked him.
He blocked him. He hasn't unblocked him yet.
Well, he said today that he didn't even know that he blocked him.
Yeah, it's been an issue for weeks. I think he might know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Askren's always been a very, it's too bad he came along now, because, Gerald Briscoe had told me that, like, of all the guys that he scouted, the one he wanted is for WWE was Askren. But back then, 10 years ago, too small, didn't have the right body.
Yeah.
Whereas today, a guy who can talk like that and everything like that, they'd be all, in for him, plus being a great athlete and everything like that. Because Ben Askren, I remember when Ben Askren was in college, he was probably the most charismatic college wrestler. God, let me think about this. I mean, he was of that era, that era when, the era of like 12 years ago or whatever it was, when he was winning the Hodge Trophy. He was, like at the NCAAs, it was like he was the star of the tournament. I don't know that he's, you could say like I don't know, some of the guys now, like Kyle Dake and Kyle Snyder and Jaden, but I think that Askren may have been more naturally charismatic than any of them. I think there's somebody. Yeah, but again, it's it didn't. He went into MMA.
So, as a follow up to some of the stuff we were talking about on last night's show about Crown Jewel, Shawn Michaels had a quote saying, it will be yesterday's match. It will be a very good reminder of why I didn't do it for 8 years and why I'm not going to do it again. But then he added, if I can possibly help it.
So it kind of confirms what I kind of would figure, that he doesn't really want to do it again, but they may beg him and they may put him in a situation, and someone may offer him like millions of dollars, and he won't turn that down. But you're 53 years old and you've been retired for years, and you do a moonsault and you land on your face and you bust up your nose. It's like, that's a good reminder. That match, that match was just sad. It was really sad. I don't know. You were right about Shawn, though. I mean, there was a lot of people who thought like that he did this unbelievable performance, and it's like, I mean, I didn't see it at all. I mean, it was good in the sense that, he was the best guy in the match, but he wasn't the best guy on the show. He wasn't in the league of AJ. I mean, in the league of AJ. Even though AJ was handicapped by the match ending so suddenly, or Joe for that matter, or Seth Rollins. But for a 53-year-old, he was he was in great shape, and he was certainly good. He was, but that match, I thought that match wasn't any good, but it was, once Triple H got hurt, everything went haywire in a lot of ways. And it's like, it is what it is.
I mean, thinking back.
So the thing we didn't talk about with Triple H getting hurt. So he's probably having surgery. I think that he went right to Birmingham, so he's probably having surgery. If it is a torn pec and he's having surgery, he's out of WrestleMania, which means that the Batista Triple H match, which was the main event on that show, you got to change your plans because
Orton.
Yeah. If Batista wants to do it, I guess Orton would be the guy, and probably be a better match now. But but I don't think it's not as big a match.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
But that would be the guy though. Yeah.
Just sort of thinking back to that show, it was a weird show to me because it was sort of like this. We talked about the old timers thing, but it was Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon and Triple H and Shawn, like out of, and you have most of your fan base after that show's over going like, Shawn Michaels was so great, and
he was better than Shane McMahon.
Well, he was better than Shane. and like, look, when I saw that guy in the ring again, doing some of the goofy stuff that he does that just, sort of makes you smile, I was like, I like this feeling of seeing him in the ring, but I did not like the feeling of seeing him fall on his face.
No.
That's when I was just like, oh, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
So,
but anyone can fall on their face. And that wasn't his fault.
No.
If you could have had Volador Jr. out there, and if those guys don't catch him, you're going to fall on your face and all that. Any of the best flyers, Ricochet or any of them. That wasn't Shawn's fault in the least.
Do you sense that they're celebrating the older guys specifically because it was the Saudi Arabia show and that's what they want?
Yeah, it's because it's what they want. Then we had a Hogan too.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of guys from the past.
But you don't sense that as kind of like they want to bring a lot of these old.
I hope not. I don't know what the deal was with Kurt that I don't understand, because it's like, if Kurt's going to come back and do something, it's like, why beat him like that? I just like, what's the point? It's like,
without having
with no
the Corbin thing.
Yeah, with Corbin or did nothing with Corbin, did nothing with McIntyre. I didn't get that. It's like, one of the things I think WWE does bad is that as much as they like sell their history and all that, unless it's Triple H, and Bill Goldberg, which, but Bill Goldberg was because Brock, put his foot down. And wanted to do business by losing to Bill Goldberg and wanted to do a program with Bill Goldberg, because everybody else is, in the company has been devalued. So the only one who's not devalued was bringing back Bill Goldberg. But, it's like, for the most part, when they bring back these legends from the past, they make people sad because they just beat them. Like with Sting, they beat him in pretty much every time, almost every time. It's like, I think that people, when they see the guys like that, I think that you want to put him, like Dolph Ziggler's a good opponent for Kurt to beat. You know what I mean? Because it's not like he's your top guy. Mm-hmm. It's like I wouldn't go in there and bring Kurt Angle back and then have him beat Drew McIntyre.
Right.
Or have him beat Roman Reigns. But if I'm going to bring him back and he's going to lose, he's only going to lose to a guy that I've got aspirations of being my top guy. And you know what I mean? It's like when like, as an example, when Eddie Graham, this early 70s, Lou Thesz was, Lou Thesz was born in 1916. So this is like 57 years old. Lou Thesz comes back. And Lou Thesz lost to Jack Briscoe because Jack Briscoe was the world champion. That's okay. Mm-hmm. Lou Thesz lost to Dusty because he was grooming Dusty to be the top guy in the territory. But Lou Thesz beat everybody else.
Yep.
It's not like Lou Thesz was losing to frickin' Tommy Gilbert, you know what I mean? Or some, one like somebody like that. And not in Florida anyway. You don't abuse your legend, and I mean, unless it's for like a purpose. Like there's again, if Kurt is there to give a young guy on the way up some credit, but Dolph Ziggler's almost 40, and he's never going to be a top guy. I guess the idea is that that they would rather have Dolph Ziggler go against Seth Rollins and then lose like that. I mean, I could see Seth Rollins against Kurt and Seth Rollins beating Kurt, and I would be fine with that.
Going back to the Saudi Arabia thing, though,
if he wins like one and then he comes back and wins second, no one's going to be sad and go, oh, the guy came back and he beat Dolph Ziggler. He had a great match with Seth Rollins. That's cool, but when you go in there and the other guy we didn't talk about was Ray.
Yeah,
Ray's back too.
Yep.
But
did you sense
they try to protect Ray?
Did you sense that booking of Kurt was only because of Saudi Arabia? Maybe if they brought him back for a different show that had nothing to do with bringing back these legends because they liked the legends, that they wouldn't have done that.
I don't know. That I don't know. But I mean, Kurt's been training for months to come back. So
I thought they kind of built him up pretty well on TV too.
They did. Which is another reason that him losing to Ziggler clean makes no sense.
Yeah. So one thing we failed to mention last night was the couple of. We mentioned one of them. We mentioned AJ and Brock. That match.
So AJ and Brock is really interesting because if you look at it from one standpoint, they wrestled before, and Brock won. So in a sense, Raw won, and now we're doing it again. So it should be SmackDown's turn. It should be AJ's turn. But if Vince has Brock lose to AJ, don't you think that weakens the eventual win by Strowman?
Unless Strowman
helps
AJ.
Which is probably the right way to do it. Yeah, Strowman helps AJ. Yeah, that is the right way to do it. And Brock beating AJ again, it's like, I don't know if that's the best idea either. The one thing, and the other interesting is how are they going to do that match? Because with AJ, number one, people remember the match from last year, which was a hell of a match. And I think that if you don't have a match of that caliber, people are going to be disappointed. Mm-hmm. But does Brock want to do that kind of a match when he's training for Cormier? Maybe he does. I mean, the one thing, Brock really, really likes AJ Styles. I don't know if people know that, but he really likes him. And I mean, they
have the blueprint of Brock and Eddie Guerrero where Goldberg interfered in the match, and and that was awesome. It was a really good match too. So you sort of have that blueprint with Brock and a smaller guy, and him losing because of the interference.
Yeah, and if it's because of the interference in Strowman, that does make sense. Yeah.
The other match that they made,
I hope it's not. I hope it's not Shane McMahon who helps out. And then they go to Brock and Shane. Remember they were going to do that once.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a terrible idea.
So the other match that they made was Seth against Nakamura. So
Belt versus belt.
if they do that, then they're probably going to get the belts off of Rollins and Ambrose.
Well, I'm sure that they're probably going to just do a tournament or something and do that, and then maybe have the winners face Sheamus and Cesaro on that show.
Yeah.
So who knows who they'll go with as far as the tag team thing goes. Or it could be the finals of a tag team tournament at Survivor Series, and you just don't do the tag team against tag team. You could do that. So that's and then 5-way elimination, and then I'm going to guess that they may do a 5-way elimination with the women too. But that may be one match too many. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they could do a 4.5-hour show if they want.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, and then obviously we have Ronda and Becky, which they already announced. Okay, so this New Japan show, Power Struggle. So Chris Jericho beat Evil in the main event. When we watched the match, or just the card in general, we thought, doesn't sound like the crowd's much into it. But is it possible that there was something wrong with the sound?
There was something wrong with the sound. The sound mixing was a mess, is what I understand. I was told it was like the usual hot Osaka crowd, and that they were super into everything other than Goto and Taichi. But watching it on TV, we never got the feel of the sound. So that really hurt the show from that standpoint.
I saw the show in English, and then I went back to watch some of the stuff in Japanese just to see if the sound was different, and it felt the same to me.
Yeah.
Though our friend John LaRocca said that at that same building, All Japan ran a show, and he thought the crowd was mic'd terribly for that show too. So maybe something with that building or something.
Yeah, but that building, the Edion Arena, is usually the hottest building in Japan. And usually when they're on TV from the Edion Arena, I think there's only been one show in like the last 5 or 6 years where the crowd wasn't. There was one show where I thought, but I was told that night, yeah, it was weird. The crowd wasn't that hot. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one, I was told, oh no, the crowd was like on fire. They went crazy for the Jericho Evil match, especially. But I didn't. Yeah, it was just mixed badly. And I heard that from So whatever. The show was predictable. Mm-hmm. It was. I mean, most of the stuff. I thought that the first part of the show was okay. The angles were what the angles should have been. I mean, that's the one thing I'll say. And I thought that the second half of the show was real good. Suzuki and Ishii was excellent. Zack Sabre and Naito was excellent. Jericho and Evil was really good. I wouldn't say excellent, but probably if I saw it in the building, I probably would say it was excellent, because from what I heard from people in the building, they thought that match and the three-way trios match were just great.
And so that sets up Jericho and Naito, because Naito beat Sabre. But
they did the angle after.
They did the angle after. But then in Jericho's interviews after the show, he's saying that they're not going to do it again because he already beat him. He already made Naito. He doesn't need to beat him again. And so that's the story that they're telling.
So somehow they've got to do something that forces Jericho's hand, right? I wonder what that's going to be.
Yeah, what show could they do that on?
I don't know when Jericho's coming back. I don't think he's coming back to wrestle until the Tokyo Dome. So I don't know if he's coming on I mean, they have shows in December, but they're not big ones. There's the finals. I guess the finals of the tag team tournament's a big one. So the tag team tournament team should be announced Monday or Tuesday. And they announced Juice Robinson and David Finlay. And obviously Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa are going to be in it. And I figure Lance Archer and Davey Boy Smith will be in it. And I don't know who else. Let's see.
Bucks aren't going to be in it.
No, the Bucks are not going to be in it. I think they mentioned one more team. Ishii and Yano might be in it. Oh, Makabe and Honma. Yeah.
Did you want to go over show?
Yeah. So it opened with Ryusuke Taguchi, Chris Sabin, Toa Henare, and ACH against Tiger Mask, Volador Jr., Soberano Jr., and Jushin Liger. And it was okay. I didn't, a lot of comedy, nothing special. It ended up with a double hip attack by Taguchi and ACH on Soberano. So they beat Soberano, who, Soberano did one cool twisting plancha. He slipped on the ropes, and I understand that he's been slipping on the ropes a lot during the tour. Then,
Well, one thing we didn't mention, no Lanny Poffo.
No Lanny Poffo. Chuck Taylor was in. I guess compared to Lanny Poffo, he was good. That's really great praise.
He's a little bit of a dry sense of humor.
Yeah, when if you like really listen to him close, he actually is pretty funny. But yeah, it made sense because he's on the tour and he wasn't booked on the show, and he's done announcing with PWG, and he's announced New Japan before, so it all made sense. And it was much better not having Lanny Poffo there. He would have really dragged it down. So Makabe, Kushida, and Honma against Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and Bad Luck Fale. And the big surprise there was what was the deal? Tama Tonga pinned Kushida when Taiji Ishimori broke his crutch over Kushida. So I'm guessing because Ishimori hurt his ankle. That's legit. Even though it's funny, he actually really did get injured. But the storyline is that he was faking an injury to hit Kushida with his crutch. But I'm going to guess that the original plan for this was to be an 8-man tag, and that the finish of the 8-man tag would have been Ishimori pinning Kushida to set up. He breaks the crutch over him. He beats him up, and then he's like, "This is Ishimori's kind of posing with the belt." So it's Ishimori and Kushida. Not 100. I mean, it's either in the next month or it's going to be Tokyo Dome, and probably Tokyo Dome.
He looked hurt when he was walking back.
Oh yeah. That's what I said. It was funny because he was legitimately injured, but in the storyline, it was like the broken arm trick, and the announcers even said, "Oh, he's not hurt at all." I mean, he's obviously was hurt. But But the idea of him hitting with a crutch and then like walking around was to tell people it's like he faked it. Yeah, that's quite deep. Then we had Okada and Beretta against Jay White and Bad Luck Fale.
Okada in the third match.
4-minute match. Beretta got a sunset flip pin over Fale. Nobody expected that. And, nothing to the match. It's 4 minutes. Okada and Jay White brawled all over. And then afterwards, Jay White attacked him again. They did a pull apart. They broke 3, continued to fight. White challenged him to a match. Okada agreed, said, "How about right now?" And then Jay White, of course, backed off. And Jay White was punching some of the young lions on the way out. The match wasn't much at all. It was really a nothing match, but it was there to build up the Okada Jay White, and so the angle was fine. Then we had Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi against Hiroshi Tanahashi and David Finlay. I'm sure everyone knows who lost the fall here. Omega and Okada did the golden trigger on Finlay. And honestly, like Tanahashi and Omega were in at the beginning and went at it, and it was exciting. But they both looked hurt to me. I thought they both were just moving, and I thought the star of the match was Finlay. He was great. Ibushi didn't do, this was like a 10-minute match, and it was not, like the thing with Omega and Ibushi is like when they're in their mindset of we're going to have a great match, it's like it's just going to be incredible. And this one, they didn't have that mindset. This mindset was to do stuff to tease Omega and Tanahashi without giving away too much, and that's what they did. And then they, they faced off against each other after the match. Then we had the 3-way for the junior tag tournament finals. Sho and Yo, Kanemaru and Desperado, and Bushi and Shingo Takagi. and Show pinned who was it? Which one did he pin? Desperado? Was it Connemara or Desperado? Connemara, I believe. I think it was Connemara, but it was one of the champs with a shock arrow, which is a kind of it's a pile driver. This was a good match. You know, it was a lot of near falls, and everybody, this was a good match. Then Goto and Taichi, which was better than the last Goto Taichi match. Goto regained the championship with the GTR in 15 minutes. So like the story was Taichi gave him a back suplex right away, and then he had him beat, and he picked him up at 2 and just wouldn't pin him, and he just wanted to taunt him. And of course, it backfired on him because Goto recovered and Goto won the championship. And they are, in fact, going to do Goto and Kota Ibushi for the championship at the Tokyo Dome, which is not the original planned Will Ospreay match, which is too bad. Hopefully, we get that match later. Maybe Ibushi wins the title and then defends against Will Ospreay later, and we get that match. So it's a good direction. Goto and Ibushi at the Tokyo Dome. It's probably going to be great because so a lot better than this one. Suzuki and Ishii for the British Heavyweight Championship. Just a great match, start to finish. They just beat the hell out of each other and went back and forth. And Ishii just took over at the end and won with a brainbuster. But it was every Suzuki Ishii match, which means it was fantastic. It was, I don't know if it was better than the one, I haven't watched the one that they just did in England, but everybody was raving about that like a match of the year. This one I wouldn't call a match of the year, but it was match of the night and easily of what I've seen. Of course, the only other one I saw was Crown Jewel because I have not watched CMLL, but I'm pretty sure it was match of the weekend.
Or the Jericho Cruise show.
Yeah, so those are all. Yeah, I heard the CMLL show was tremendous. So I just kind of went. That's it's so funny. It's like CMLL is actually my favorite wrestling to watch, and I do watch it a lot, but it's like I miss a lot too because it's Friday nights. And now with SmackDown going to Fridays next year, I wonder what I'm going to do because like I'm going to be real mad watching those bad SmackDown shows and then like missing CMLL if I stay home on a Friday. So anyway. And then Naito and Zack Sabre, I just thought this match was great. And Zack Sabre matches to me are always fun. Just does all the mat work, everything there. He kicked out of a Destino. Naito finally hit the Zack driver on Zack and hit the Destino. And, it was just... Naito has lost to Sabre a couple times in a row. So it was time, to get Naito a big win, and Zack was the guy. And it's just, no swerves here. It's like you look up and down the card, and it's like everything that you should do, that's what they did. It was very predictable in a good way. I'm wondering, and then Jericho and Evil, which I thought was really good. Evil did all of his regular stuff. The chair around the neck with the baseball bat swing and did the Darkness Falls. He did the STO, It's Evil. Jericho kicked out. Evil kicked out of a code breaker. Jericho won with a Lion Tamer by submission, by tap out. And then he kept beating him up afterwards. Naito made the save and Jericho left. And then Jericho said he's not going to be wrestling Naito. So, yeah, it was a good basic show.
Yeah, I think that's it. When are you and Brian coming back?
Monday after Raw.
Okay, so hopefully we get an hour extra of sleep here, but I think we did the show in the extra hour of sleep we were going to have.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and see you on Monday with Dave and Brian.